There is a quiet misunderstanding that often travels unnoticed through the human heart, a gentle whisper passed from generation to generation, saying simply, "I know you." It sounds innocent, comforting, even. But this simple statement, when believed too quickly, becomes the foundation for a complex web of projections, roles, and unseen agreements that quietly shape the entire dynamic between two souls. In most relationships, especially those marked by love, intensity, or long history, each person does not meet the other as they are in the present moment. Rather, they meet as a reflection, a reenactment, a magnetized echo of something unresolved, unfinished, or unmet from the past. The soul, sensing familiarity in the energy of the other, reaches inward and takes up a role almost instinctively, as if saying, "Ah yes, I remember this pattern. Let me step into it once more, and perhaps this time I will find closure." This is what many call karma, though it is not punishment, nor is it personal. It is simply a loop, a sacred repetition of storylines waiting to be seen clearly and dissolved through awareness. It is the soul's attempt to complete what was once fragmented, not by changing the other, but by finally coming into full presence with what has always lived within. In this way, one partner may become, without intending to, the stern father figure the other never reconciled with, or the absent mother, or the disapproving sibling, or, just as often, the ghost of an ex-lover still haunting the nervous system with unspoken words and unmet needs. The relationship becomes a stage, and the people upon it become actors, wearing costumes sewn from memory, emotion, and ancestral expectation. And so, even though two people may believe they are relating authentically, in truth, they are often holding mirrors for one another, locked in a spell of mutual reflection, unable to step off the stage long enough to ask, "Who are you, really, outside of what I see?" What is most surprising, and often painful, is that within these roles, one can forget their own essence entirely. You may begin to speak words you never meant, feel emotions that don't belong to you, or carry burdens that seem suddenly heavy but strangely familiar. Because in that moment, you are no longer yourself, but an echo, a mirror. To break this karmic enchantment is not to leave the relationship, though sometimes that may occur. The deeper invitation is to release the role you have taken on, to step back from the identity you assumed in their presence, and to return to the simple truth: I do not know you as I thought I did. I do not need to be who I became to survive this connection. The unraveling of karmic bonds begins with this profound humility, the willingness to set down the mask of wife, husband, healer, rescuer, villain, child, teacher, and to meet again from the place of unknowing, where friendship becomes possible, and curiosity replaces expectation. To move from the contract of roles into the openness of real presence is a sacred passage. It may feel, at first, like a loss, for when the mirror is put down, the illusion of closeness may fade. But what arises in its place is something more enduring: the spaciousness to be, the freedom to grow, and the quiet permission to not need the other to complete any unspoken story. This is why some of the deepest love arises not from the ones who played a role in your wounding, but from those who meet you without projection, without assumption, without the old scripts. They do not demand that you stay in character, they allow you to be fluid, unfamiliar, changing. And this is the beginning of what I would call real love, not because it is free from challenge, but because it is free from role play. To truly love another is to no longer require them to hold your reflection. It is to let them be unknown, and to still remain. It is to say, I will not ask you to heal my past. I will not become your unfinished story. But I will stay present with who you are now, even if I don't yet understand it. So if you feel lost in the dynamics of your relationship, if you find yourself acting from emotion you do not recognize as your own, or repeating conversations that feel strangely scripted, pause. Close your eyes. Breathe. And ask softly, what role am I playing that no longer serves either of us? Then imagine yourself gently placing that role on the earth, like a worn cloak, and feel what returns to you when you no longer carry the shape of someone else's need. This is the doorway to liberation in relationship. And once crossed, what remains is you, and the other as one.